How do I gift my home to my children? If you want to make sure your home gets safely to your children, you need to watch this video so that you'll know exactly what to do and have the peace of mind that comes with it. My name is Mike Pugh and I'm a professional estate planner in the UK with over 2,000 clients and 500 million pounds in estate values. And I will tell you every secret I have about estate planning and asset protection if you follow my channel. When I die, like most people, my home is my largest asset and I want to gift it to my children. But I'm concerned about taxes and care fees, so here's exactly how to gift your home to your children. Do not gift it to them as a free and clear gift, or in legal terms, an absolute gift. When you give something absolutely, it is gone from you. You've lost control of it completely. And without being funny, how do you know you're going to be allowed to stay in your home? How do not all parents, sadly, you might get along well with your kids today, but what about 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And what about the wider world that we actually live in? The bigger world where people are getting more legal and more litigious, they'll sue people. What if your child, through no fault of their own, gets caught up in a lawsuit or potentially a future divorce? That means the creditors are going to show up afterwards and take everything like locusts, and that could mean that you lose the home that you've gifted. Instead, do this. Step 1, speak to an estate planning professional so that you can begin to understand more about trusts. An estate planning professional is going to ask you a series of questions, some of which will include the following. How old are you? Key question. We need to know how old you are because 2 reasons. We need to understand what types of strategies we can bring in to affect the estate. There are many different things that can be done. It's just what's going to be the most efficient for you. And here's the crazy thought, and I hope you appreciate my sense of humor. A lot of folks leave this till they're literally circling the drain. Why not do this years and years in advance when you can do it easily, inexpensively, and calmly, right? Are you married or are you not married? This is a key question vis-a-vis taxes. Remember, your spouse has the same levels of tax exemptions as you, and with spousal exemption, we'd want to use all those tax allowances to your advantage. Do you have children? If you do have children, are they over the age of 18? Again, we can perhaps use children within the trust framework to help reduce taxes. Really important stuff. How much is your estate value compared to your cash value? Are you most people, 80% of their wealth is their home. Do you have cash assets as well? These are all things that a good estate planner is going to want to understand to be able to give you accurate and correct advice. And finally, what are your goals? Where is it you want to be in 5 years? Where is it you want to be in 10 years? What does good look like for you? All of these things add up to a professional estate planner so that we can articulate a good plan for you. Do you need a discretionary trust? Do you need lifetime trusts? What type of planning vis-a-vis trust is going to be the most effective way to deal with the estate? So it's important that you feel comfortable to answer those types of questions because this all adds up to build a picture for a professional to then give you good advice specific to your situation. Step 2. Now what you will do is you want to put your home into a trust and name your adult children as trustees and potentially as beneficiaries, certainly. You'd also want to name yourself as a beneficiary, so that way you can continue to live in your home. As for control, you may look at being a trustee as well, and there are certain cases where we would encourage you to remain as a trustee, and then there are other types of cases where we would recommend that perhaps you are not the trustee of the trust. So these are all specific situational questions that are important to the positive outcome for you, your money, and your family. So now you've put your most valuable asset, for most people, their home, into a trust, and that's going to protect it from all of the normal but modern threats. And by modern, I mean these things probably didn't exist. I'm 55. If you were older than me, these things may not have existed when you were a kid, but they are out there today. And the top of the list is divorce. What if your children get a divorce? With 4 out of 10 as a divorce rate, it's almost a coin flip. So if you gifted your home to your children absolutely, right, and they got a divorce, you might find that you no longer have a home to live in. Whereas if you put it into a trust, then it won't go out in a divorce settlement. It won't go in the financial settlement for your child's divorce. Remarriage is also a big thing. If you consider that divorce is now much more frequent, people, we get along with other people generally, people want to congregate, so couples get remarried and often bring kids from previous relations. So sideways disinheritance is a thing, and nobody talks about this, but it happens. Trust will protect against this. What this is two people are married, they bring kids from previous relations, and then one passes away and leaves everything in the will to the surviving partner. The surviving partner, perhaps taking care of their children, can rewrite their will, and that means that the other set of children, the original children, they're not going to get anything. It all goes out the door sideways. Happens all the time. It's not because anybody's mean or awful. It's because people generally don't want to talk about this stuff. And trusts will shut that down completely. It won't happen if you have a trust. In bankruptcy, what happens if your children receive your estate whilst they're going through a particularly bad patch and one of them's had to declare a bankruptcy, say? They've received a multi-100,000-pound gift from you, from all of your life's work, but tragically it arrived and then they had to go bankrupt, and now the creditors fly in like locusts and clean them out and take it all if you've left it in a will. So we would always recommend that you consider the use of trusts when you're leaving a gift of this value to your children, because then it can't disappear in a future bankruptcy event for your children. It can't disappear in your child's future divorce event. You see how this works. It's clever stuff. In fact, true story this, I've actually seen this. The future ex-spouse, knowing that their mother-in-law was going to die, hung in on the relationship until mother-in-law died, leaving 700,000 pounds to my client. So my client received the 700,000 pounds in a will from his mom's estate. And you know what else he got the next week? Divorce papers. And so he lost 350,000 pounds of that sum simply because the future ex-wife was waiting for her mother-in-law to pass away. And it happens. People, money, right? This is how it works. If they already don't like you and they're going to divorce you, but they know there's hundreds of thousands of pounds at stake, they might just hang in there long enough to make sure they can cash that in. Happens all the time. And care fees. With care fees in the UK being £1,500 a week or thereabouts right now, what happens if you go into care and your house is not in a trust? Well, then it's going to be open for the financial assessment for care fees. You might find that there's not going to be much of anything to leave to your children or to your next of kin. It all just disappears up in smoke on care fees. Taxes are also something that trusts can benefit. Whilst this is not a tax video, this is a how do you gift your home to your children video. If you have tax issues, trusts can really be helpful. There's all kinds of remedies. I've shot a number of videos. You can see them on the channel. And finally, probate. If your assets are in probate, the trust doesn't die, you do. So it's you and your estate that's going to go through probate and estate administration. The trust isn't. In fact, the trust is going to instantly get whatever the values are in the trust to your beneficiaries, your children, your spouse. There's no huge delay. I've seen probate cases last 2 and 3 years on complex estates. It's really tragic because the families need the money. They want to, pay off mortgages, send kids to uni, etc. So if you have a trust, the assets go across straight away. So this is how you gift your home to your children. This is the better way. Just don't give it to them absolutely. While many people perceive that trusts are complex and complicated, I work very hard on these videos to make it look as easy as possible. It helps that I do this professionally every single day. And I've shot tons of videos about what trusts can do. I encourage you to go and watch a couple and try to shape for yourself what that outcome needs to look like for yourself. We always recommend that you work with an estate planning professional, somebody who's up to date on the current state of law, up to date on current planning. It's not that they took a program 5 years ago or 10 years ago. They should be doing regular CPD and be current on all things tax and trust related. If you're in the UK and you're trying to figure out how to gift your house to your children correctly, would it be a bad idea to book a 20-minute free Zoom meeting with myself or one of my team members, and we'll talk through your specific situation and figure out what the easiest, best way to get this done is for you. And once everything is done, if the legal creditors then show up and try to clean you out like locusts, they're not going to be able to eat you out of house and home.